You got one?
All right. Call this meeting to order, August 4th, 2025, 5 p.m., Health Emergency Services Committee. Can I get Tim Jones to pray for us?
Sure. Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to come before you, Lord, and represent the citizens here at this table, Lord. I pray that we'd do good work for Sumner County and keep you in mind in all things, Lord. I ask these things in your name. Amen.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So, okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Yeah. We can get. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, sir.
Recognition of the public. We got Ms. Charlene Allmiller.
Hi, I'm Charlene Allmiller. I live at 143 Williamson Road in Fulton, 23705, and I'm here to speak about radio communication. I did see something online that was tagged on it about the concern that the law enforcement and the fire departments are going to start using encrypted radio communications, and somebody had indicated that there's a concern with transparency. I personally don't think there's a concern with transparency as long as those recordings would be available for public records request in accordance with the law if any investigations are finalized. I personally view it as a public safety issue in the sense that if my kids were at school and there was an issue happening at school, I would not want the person causing the issue to be able to hear what the law enforcement and the responders were doing. So I'm supportive of whatever our first responders need in order to keep our community safe, and if that's encryption, that makes perfect sense to me. So I would hope that this committee, which is made up of part-time commissioners, some of whom are in the first responder industry, but several of you actually, but most of you of the commission are not. I hope that you would defer to the people that are the professionals in this industry to ensure that our community is safe, because they're the ones responsible. They're the ones that the public is going to hold accountable for it. And if it did come back to the commission trying to interfere with that, that needs to be transparently known. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's all. I've got signed up for public comment, but I just saw a constituent walk in who had talked to me. Making sure. So, is there anyone else that wants to speak? Okay. Then public comments are closed. For the chairman, I'll speak on one issue that just was brought to me by a citizen and a request. I just wanted to kind of read. There's been a request made that the committee request a prepared report with some sort of a deadline from animal control, just on adherence to the Team Shelter USA guidance, and just kind of see where that's standing. And just, you know, they complimented the ad hoc committee that have been put together over the past year, and they said that there's not been a whole lot of follow-up, and just would really like just some content that was reliable or transparent in some form or fashion. So just for the record, it's not anything to vote on. I just wanted to bring that up because it was brought to me. It's just passing it on. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think it'd be really good. I think the sheriff has been pretty transparent about that. And I think that, you know, if there's something, I did speak with him, and he said just to please reach out to him on any questions for this. He said he's happy to answer any, especially, and I'll talk more about it in a second, but he also said the same about the radio communications, and we can talk about that when we get there. But otherwise, appreciate you guys, and that's all the report I have. Report of the county mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I reserve my comments to the agenda items.
Yes, sir. Report of the sheriff. He's not here, but he called ahead and he gave me all the information, and I even made some notes for the item that we had to vote on tonight. Okay. Report of emergency management agency. I don't see. Very quiet. report of EMS.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, monthly reports are there in your package. Also tonight, News Channel 5, 10 p.m. May want to check out a story about the baby box down in Hendersonville. Paramedics up that way.
Yes, thank you. Make sure we do that. 10 o'clock on Channel 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, report of ECC.
I believe you should also have our call stats, are those in your packet?
Take this. That's all I got.
No, that's.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's okay.
Here we go.
All right, so I do have that information here. Over the last month, we've had, law enforcement calls for service, 18,521. Fire calls, 2,237. EMS, 2,350. And then our phone calls, we received 4,846 911 calls and received 13,679 administration calls, so non-emergency. And then we made 8,014 outgoing calls from the ECC. That brings up our year-to-date totals of calls for service, 147,634. And then total phone calls, 176,134. At our last meeting, we reported that we had 2 vacancies. That increased to 5, and now we have additional vacancies that were in the new positions that the body and the full commission granted. So we appreciate that very much. Looking forward to hiring our next group in September. We've got a couple more start dates that we've already factored out. So looking at being fully staffing and hopefully by January.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. It's for her, but I'm going to direct it to you because you may have answers. So going forward, is this how the call reports are going to be, or is this a one-off? And the reason why I ask that question is, while I'm sure everybody enjoys hearing the stats, it's a lot more helpful to be able to compare them month to month to know, man, what happened? I heard one of the commissioners exclaim, wow, like, to him that seemed like a lot. And just for public information, our constituents probably would like to know what happened. They were really busy this month and last month. What about context? It's hard to figure. So is this just a one-off, do you know, or will it be done back the way it used to be next month? Can you answer that?
You can direct. Is it okay if we?
If she had previously talked to you, that's, no, I mean, we'll have to suspend while she's doing the report. I'll ask her.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you already knew it'd be a quick answer, but can we get it like that next month, or just like a one-time thing?
I think it was just a one-time thing. I provide these stats monthly to the mayor's office.
Okay.
But if I need to also include someone else, I can do that as well.
This is helpful to see the charting and the month to month to see what happened, if it was heat related or whatever. You know, be careful out there, folks, you know, citizens want to know what happened. It was such a big deal, whether it's so low or so high. You know, that's all.
Thank you so much for that. Old business, there is none. New business, so rescheduled date for September 2025 meeting that falls on Labor Day for this committee. And that date was rescheduled for, I had it written down, that's the one thing do we have the date in front of us? You guys know when it was going to be rescheduled to? Would be the following Monday.
Can't be a crashing all those.
Yeah. I was thinking, would it be Tuesday? Is that what it would be?
Typically, we move it to a Tuesday, September the 2nd, because commission meeting still stays on course for the 15th, so it would be a train wreck logistically if we moved it a week.
Yeah, it would be. And it would make it hard for the others. So
I would make a motion that we move it to September the 2nd.
Second. Oh, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, the agenda item B on 13B. Yeah, and just so everyone understands, it's the same body cams that they have. The sheriff told me that there's for new positions,
Motion approved.
And also, just,
Second.
money already approved crossing over the fiscal year, just so you know what's going on. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay. Disabled GPS units from EMS. I'm gonna just open up and just explain what that is. So I had some folks reach out secondhand. I don't even know, I don't have any straight up source, on this, but I had some folks reach out and just say that they were concerned that there were some disabled units. And I said, well, what does that mean? And so with it not being a direct source, I couldn't ask some of the questions I wanted to ask. So I thought it would be best to bring it before this committee instead of doing anything out of order and out of context where we don't get a chance to talk. So what I foresee from this, and I think that this partly came up with the whole radio communications and everything that has been on Facebook, and I think that's probably what maybe caused some of it. I don't know. But I believe that with the thought of there being disabled communication, GPS from EMS, and they didn't, it says EMS, it wasn't just EMS, it was EMS, EMA, E911, it was one of the three, I don't know, it might have been all of them. And the main thing is I don't think that anybody needs to be privy to lifetime GPS. I mean, except for the chiefs and directors. I mean, that's an obvious for safety issues. Number two, if there are vehicles that are sitting, or if there's like ambulances not being used, or if there's everybody from maintenance all the way to directors, just kind of what's going on with that, and do all have GPS, and could we find out like a report after the fact of kind of where things are being moved, what's going on with it. Is there a need? Because, like, for instance, the reason why this is seeming important to me is, a couple of years ago we were around $14 million for the EMS budget alone, and super vital to the county. I mean, we know everybody wants ambulance coverage, everybody does. But the thing is it went up. Now it's pushing around $18 million, I think, is really where it is on this year's budget. And my thoughts behind that is, the ask is that there's $3.5 million for a new ambulance station, one every year for the next 5 years. That's a lot of money, coming in for from the people. It's just something to bring up. If there's, and then we got the Westmoreland, EMS station that's being built and working on right now. We talked about White House. We've had the Millersville situation going on. Lots of things going on. I think it would be not in our due diligence to at least ask some questions. And I know that, like with our mayor, is really over all of this. This is really in his purview. And I'm thinking just for his sake and for the taxpayers' sake on how we're funding, I would like to see maybe an after action report. I wouldn't want any names on the report at all. Maybe just like numbers of vehicles that we have, and kind of know, okay, what's being used? Are we being efficient when we get a call? Are the ones that are the station that's closest, are they going most of the time? Are there ones that are being sitting? Are there ones that are being disabled? Are there ones, what is that looking like? Are we actually aging out of some ambulances? All those questions, that's all I'm wanting to know. And that was all I ever wanted to know. Now, I don't know exactly what the secondary source wanted to know, and that's the problem without knowing an exact thing. But I just thought we should investigate it, see what's going on, see what's in the purview of this committee. That was what my thoughts were. So I'll open up for discussion.
I know about 3 or 4 months ago, I had asked about the GPS, and Mr. Austin was up here, and I asked him about that. He said they all had GPS, and they were all active. And I clarified that with him to know, because we had discussion in the insurance part. We had insurance, so that kind of spurred that in my head about that, for insurance reasons. Like, for example, if they're not being activated and something gets stolen, then why wasn't it out? That was the only thing I asked about, was because we were talking about an insurance reason. So I don't know what all this is about. I know our last meeting they were talking, they didn't have a policy on it. That's probably not appropriate. They should have a policy. Who is required? And I don't, if you turn off your GPS, I mean, I don't know why you would do that if you're working as a person in emergency services, any emergency service. why would you turn it off if you're on duty or even not on duty? I don't know. I don't really care what people do in their personal life, but it's equipment that belongs to the county. And it's kind of like, you know, if you rent something from, say, a big, like Lowe's or somewhere like that, they're going to track it. They're going to know where it is, you know, and it's because it's expensive equipment. So I think I had asked that, and Mr. Austin has clarified with me that they were on. Everybody's was active. So that, I was good with that. I don't know, that's all I know about it.
Thanks, Mr. Rock.
So, I don't know where all this comes from. But I can say that when I was in dispatch in the 19th century, in Portland, when we started out punching time cards, we didn't know where our units were in this county. It was on the honor system of if you had Medic 6 checked out at Portland ER, Medic 6 was at Portland ER, and they gave the mileage of where they was at. They picked back up, checked back 10-8 in service, returning to the station. You assume their mileage was the same as the beginning as it was on the end. Then along came Big Brother, and they said they wanted to watch everybody and see where they was at and what they was doing. So I was dispatching the Gallatin Police Department at the time that not our current CAD system, but the CAD system came online, and it showed everybody in the county. Great, still is. My understanding is the way the CAD system works on the EMS side is when you pull in or when you go in service and you turn that key, that GPS is active. And then that little GPS stays active forever. The CAD operator, the dispatcher, can see how many medics are at station 3 or at station 12. I'm just making up station numbers across the county. So now, obviously, at the boneyard or the graveyard, if they're not in service, in commissioned ambulances, because we are aging them out due to mileage or age or whatever, then I would say it's a good resource of taxpayers' money that they be cut off.
Sure.
So those don't show on the CAD system. It's not a piece of equipment that we're paying for unnecessarily. So from my professional side and elected official side, I would say that the county is in good hands in knowing where our GPS and our equipment is located because I've seen it. When these paramedics, medics, EMTs, chiefs, supervisors, when they check in service, they're given their mileage, where they're going. They give their mileage when they're on the scene. From the scene to the ER, they're given their mileage. If it's in Nashville or wherever, they're given their mileage when they're there. Their fuel cards, they have to enter their mileage when they're buying fuel. I don't know how much more a legislative body can really govern the location of questionable vehicles. And part of me has to ask, why would we want to? We've got CAD reports, CAD systems that shows where they're at. There's dispatch logs we can pull that shows where they're at. Why? So that would be my question, is what are we really trying to look at? If we think somebody's not doing something they should be, there's avenues for that. But I think, I'm not even going to say that. I hope that we can trust the people and these department heads that we have in place to do their job, that's been doing their job for several years. In fact, this actual commission put some of these department heads in their current position. And if we can't trust them with the livelihood of some 22,000 people in this county, 30-some probably if we count traffic in and out, aircraft flying over our heads, then maybe we need to reconsider what we did 3 or 4 years ago. I don't think we have that problem. Because like I said, there's report after report after report you can run. There's open records requests that can be ran. I think we're fine. In fact, I have told people, even before I was commissioner, that the response plan that Sumner County has in place, I would put it to anyone in the county. And I said that back before, when I was sitting on the console, when I was dispatching. The logistics of this county, the radio traffic that's observed on and off duty in this county, I would put it next to any one of them in the state. I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting here. I said it before I became a commissioner. It's probably one of the best in the state. So for us to be worried about a GPS location of an EMS unit, I think we're looking in the wrong spot to find something if we're looking for something.
I appreciate what you said.
The men and women in EMS that answer the calls in this county, they don't have very much downtime. They're hustling. The next item is the encryption part. Before that, you could hear how much they were hustling. There wasn't a whole lot of downtime for them to turn a GPS off or try to maneuver it to where it doesn't show up or whatever. And I keep hearing second sources and so forth. Who are these people? Are they citizens of this county? That's why we have a sign-up sheet up there. If they have questions and comments, they can sign up and speak. And I invite them to, because I want to hear from them. It just seems like we're hearing at a lot of meetings second-hand information coming in. I don't want second-hand information. I want first-hand information, because that's what we need to make our decisions on in this county.
So I was late to the last meeting. I think it's traffic issues at that time. And I know this item was on the agenda last meeting and it got pulled off. And I remember there being a lot of angst over why it was even on the agenda. This seems like a pretty calm conversation. Why was it removed last month and why couldn't we talk about it last month? I may have another question, but I really want to know that one first, if anybody can answer.
Would you like to answer that?
Sure. So, as vice chair, I put it in writing to the chairman that I didn't really understand why this was on the agenda. If it had been going on for 2 months, why hadn't anybody been made aware of it? There was avenues that we could have went down to make sure no one's life was in danger. So without knowing any details, I made the decision to remove it from the agenda. Because I thought, when you say location of EMS and GPS, that's totally different than what we're hearing right now. Of what about disabled units? Where's the units being located at? What's the allocation of the people? That's totally different than a GPS location of EMS units. That's carrying scheduled drugs. I mean, we don't need to know in an open forum of where these units can be located.
Well, I think during the discussion, it could have been known as to what the agenda item was. The chairman put it on there. There was a email sent out by the mayor, too, that, saying absolutely no discussion on this whatsoever. I think with the calmness of this conversation, we could have got to where it was. Citizens have questions about stuff, and they get them to our level, and we bring them so that they may or may not have to speak at a meeting. They're free to, of course, but if they don't want to, that's what we're here for, and to ask the questions. And if it came to material that could be sensitive in nature and have to go to an executive session or not be talked about, that's all we have the law director sitting right here to head those off at the pass. I just don't understand why no one was interested in talking about it last month.
So I'll address that. So I got 2 emails. I got one from Commissioner Rogers. I didn't respond to it. I got one from the mayor. I didn't respond to it. And they were pretty heated. And I thought, okay, I don't know for sure where and it can all be public record requests, but I don't know I get so worried because we hear the word sunshine laws so much. I know I can discuss it as a mayor, but like I'm thinking, okay, am I able to talk about this or not? Because we can't deliberate, you know, anything like that. So I thought, well, it shouldn't be that big of a deal because when have I ever brought anything before this body that would ever endanger employees? I mean, I thought that would probably be a given, and so that's why I didn't address it. I thought, well, let's address it live. And I'll come down to that. This was something. But I just really, I didn't see the reason. I thought we could just talk through it like this because I like this discussion. This is what people have asked for. And then one more thing I want to hit on is the fact that it was asked why. And the reason why is the reason we're elected. I mean, I don't do it because I think, oh, I have faith in so-and-so or this or that or this system or whatever. It's not that. That's not how that we run it. I don't think it's how any of us run it or should or want to or anything. And I think that we have to ask questions. And if I don't know for sure if it's real or not, I need to ask the question publicly instead of just accusing. And that's what I'm trying to make sure I'm not doing. And so that's all it is. I think that safety is the utmost importance always, especially in these kinds of situations. And that's just to answer the question. Go ahead, Commissioner Rogers.
So, to answer the question of why it was removed last month, again, I didn't know what was there for. I'd sent the emails and no reply. So, parliamentarily, and legal's here if I'm wrong, before we moved forward with the agenda, with me not knowing why it was on there and no replies to the actual core of the issue, I felt it was best to remove it because it wasn't a safety issue in my mind because we have trucks out there going around with the drugs and everything else. I mean, when you say GPS, that pinpoints where that unit's at. So that's why I was adamant that it was removed last month. I didn't know it was talking about a boneyard sitting out on Airport Road and why was those GPS units disabled. That's why I removed it because once the agenda's approved and you go forward, that's your agenda. You can't remove it or strike it once it's approved, unless I'm wrong.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can speak.
Yes, sir. She was in the queue first, Mayor. Would you
I
mind
typically
if you
don't
spoke?
hold my hand up. I apologize.
Would you mind if you spoke for it? I'm trying to do the right thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead, you.
Okay, you see.
Um,
Mayor's next.
so I'm listening to Darrell, or Commissioner Rogers, his comments from yours, Jim, and you're talking about the EMS unit, things like that, and that is, yeah, I agree that we don't want people knowing. I mean, we see ambulances all the time. I mean, they know where they're running around, and I mean, you're blind if you don't. But what I'm asking about though is, like, I know that some people have personal vehicles that they use, and that is government equipment or county equipment.
Personal or non?
So they're
Non-truck,
professional, like
non-payment.
trucks, things they use for their job.
Not personal, just non.
Right, not their own personal.
Non-ambulance.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, and that was my question I had before, several months ago, was because of equipment, insurance, where is the, you know, like, it's not, say for example, one of the battalion people, however they're ranked, they have personal, like, they have an assigned truck, and they use it and they take it home, but they turn off their GPS, or they go somewhere and they don't have it on, and something happens to them, and you're not able to get a hold of them. I'm sorry. You can't get a hold of them. I think that, in a way, it's a safety issue to know, you know, if they're turning them off, why are they turning them off? And that would be my question, because I'm looking at for the cost, that equipment belongs to the county, to the citizens. It really is their equipment. And is there something that can be done vis-a-vis the policy about you can't turn this off unless, say, the chief is notified or something like that, just because it keeps the inventory, you know where your inventory is. You know, I mean, I'm not saying anybody's doing anything nefarious, but I just want to know how is that working? Because GPS equipment is wise GPS equipment to know where your equipment is when you need to know, okay? That's all I think that I would like to know is, how do you track who? There is no policy, and people have very expensive trucks that they use for their job and stuff. So maybe it's a problem. I don't think the ambulances have to be, you have to know, Mary has to know where every ambulance is at every time of the day. No. But if people are using expensive equipment, and I think you need to know where it is when you want to know where it is. And if you're turning it off, chief or his assistant should know. I don't know. I'm just asking. That's the kind of the thoughts I've had. I thought about it since last month. So.
Go ahead, Mr. Mary.
Good.
All right. This is why it shouldn't be discussed here. With all due respect to the commissioner, the ignorance over this whole process is why we're here right now.
We're not ignorant.
The process, listen to me, okay? Listen. Of this process is why we're here today. When those vehicles are turned on, you cannot disable GPS units, okay? Every unit, all of our ambulances have GPS on them, and they are monitored by command staff. GPS units, they are exclusively used for emergency mobilization and for operational efficiency. It's not for tracking where they are. It's for operational efficiency. The problem is we start talking about this, we start planting the seeds that there's nefarious activity, that they're turning off the GPS units, and now we've got that seed planting because somebody hears that statement but don't hear the follow-up. That's where we create this problem. Now, I asked for the names, and all of a sudden we glossed it over now, and we've got secondhand information. This is serious. This is a serious breach of operational safety for our EMS personnel. People start knowing where those units are. If they're parked somewhere, there is the opportunity for somebody to get drugs. And we deal with those issues. And we can gloss over it all we want to, but this is a serious issue. And I will ask again. I will ask for the second-hand names so I can reach out to them for the first-hand names. And I did a public records request, and all I got were my emails, which did no good. So I'm going to ask our legal department to pursue what legal remedies are available to get those names of that second-hand information. And I will start there because I have to get to the bottom of who's making the claim and who has access to our GPS information. Because if a citizen has access to that and there's unauthorized sharing of that data, that puts my personnel, the county's personnel at risk. And that, as county mayor, I can't tolerate.
May I ask the chief a question?
Yes.
Chief, how easy?
Let's make a motion to suspend the rules.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Chief, how hard is it for a paramedic EMT to disable the GPS on a unit?
It would take tools out of our mechanic shop to get into the cabinets
Thank you.
to make a change.
That's all my questions. It ain't being done.
Okay, while they're still suspended, Chief, can anyone's GPS be disabled in your shop?
And anyone's,
Can any of your vehicles have any of them, all the way from yours all the way to the lowest? Can any of them be disabled?
they can be disabled,
Yes.
but computer program by command staff if need be. But that has not happened. I have no reports of anybody having anything being disabled, non-functional. On occasion, you have equipment malfunction, and that's dealt with equipment. But I've had no complaints of GPS not working. And to go a little further on that, if it's not working, they're self-reporting because they're having to jump calls. they want to know when they're the closest one there. And if the right ambulance or right command personnel is not getting dispatched, they want to know why. So if it's not working, I'm the first one to know. And I have no reports of GPS on it.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, who is it? You next.
I'm ready to bring us back into session unless somebody else
Yeah.
wants to ask another question.
Make a motion to bring us back to session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
So, people are making this a lot bigger than what it needs to be. I haven't heard anybody ask for GPS locations.
No.
It's a question on whether they've been turned off or not, and if so, how. We've gotten answers here tonight in this meeting, which has been very helpful. I would speculate that any reports of not knowing where somebody was, possibly, is because the unit was turned off. Because you said when you turn the key on, it starts recording. So if it's off, stands to reason it's not recording. So if vehicles are off for long periods of the day, that means they're parked somewhere and they're not idling. Possibly that's where this rumor's coming from. And that answers a lot. Just the conversation we had, the mostly civil conversation we had may have answered those questions. But to demand names and sources of who's asking these questions, that's frankly ridiculous because we're just asking simple questions. And it is because we don't know, but it's because a citizen asked or speculated or said something to somebody. The question got asked. No harm, no foul. Nobody's vehicle got robbed. No drugs got stolen. Nobody got targeted. It's just a simple question of how this GPS system works and if somebody has the capability of bypassing it. I'm satisfied. I'm ready to move on. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I want to know why we didn't talk about it last month. It sounded interesting. I wanted to know more about it.
And I gotta say, I appreciate the chief being able to answer it correctly. And also just to address the mayor. I don't believe it's ethical to always give up a source. I just don't. In any situation, I don't know who ended up saying it, but there's just no reason behind it because the thing is no, there's never been a request for knowing where these vehicles are at real time. That would be ridiculous, and I just think that seems careless and like not, in the words of the mayor, not listening to the full statement. And I think that the thing that aggravates me is when there's such angst about just asking simple questions in this county. And it comes back all the time. And it's happened time and time again. And I don't know why I would like to see us work together as a commission with your office, sir. And I mean that on my part too. I don't mean it, I'm not just pointing fingers, I'm pointing at me too. I think we've got to find a way to be civil and do people's business because this whole cat and mouse game doesn't work for me and it doesn't work for the people. And I don't like it, I don't appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I have had citizens, let me quote you, I've had citizens reach out to me over the last couple of months regarding GPS locators on ES vehicles. There are reports of them being turned off and not monitored or engaged on the location of the vehicles. That is a security issue. Now, 2 months ago, you probably, if you got that information, you probably should have picked up the phone and called me or called the chief. That would have been working together. But to create this show, that's not working together. Picking up the phone and calling the office and saying, hey, John, somebody said this. Or, hey, chief, somebody said this. Can you please look into this? 2 months ago, it would have been solved. But to make a public spectacle out of it, that's not working together. That's not solving the problem. I still need the people's names.
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman, if we could ask legal, I mean, that, when we receive complaints like that, it's not a violation of sunshine law to call the department heads and communicate, is it?
If I can comment on that, please. I did receive a request for this information, and I supervised that because I was curious to see what would come out of it, and it was dormant. It was dead. There has been no communication maintained by the county of of any back and forth on this. The only time I've laid eyes on it is when it hit this committee.
No, my question, maybe I didn't state it right. When we as a commissioner get a complaint about EMS or the sheriff's office or whatever, do we violate sunshine law by calling the chief or the sheriff and saying, hey, I received this complaint, or does it have to come through committee?
If you're picking up the phone and calling, for example, Mr. Paz, no, as long as there's not deliberation going on or some concerted effort to pass some sort of resolution or something, you're fine there. Now, if it's more than one commissioner, regardless of what you're doing, the optics are very bad.
Well, surely he wouldn't have the same complaint at the same time. But good deal. Thanks. No, it wouldn't.
Well, I don't see anything that we have to actually vote on. You guys, do you have any emotions?
I just had this as a discussion item. So.
Yeah, I don't see anything at all. Okay, so we're moving on to the radio communications. And I want to speak on that for 1 second because I got to speak with the sheriff. And so Commissioner Becker reached out and just said, hey, would you put this on the agenda? Because a lot of people have reached out to him. And I appreciate him. I'm glad you brought him. And I appreciate him putting it on here. And honestly, I had a couple folks say something, but not many people. Mostly it's on Facebook. There's been some things. But I think that in times past, we have had more access to sheriff's radio. It's just been, like years and years and years, people would sit around and listen to it. I get it. But times are changing, and I believe there's a lot more of a worry for what that information in particular, if somebody knows where they're going. I mean, we've got AI active now. We've got things that are different that we wouldn't have had in the past. And also, I think everything was had a pin on it before. It was different, they would call it, it's a little bit more not as transparent. But after speaking with the sheriff, he just said, hey, if anyone has any questions, he said, I will answer anything. He said you can call him or his department, and he'll answer them. And he said that he wasn't worried about, addressing it if he needed to next month. No matter, and I told him, I said, there may be a chairman change, there may not be. But I said, no matter what, would you mind addressing it in your report? He said, I don't mind a bit if anybody has any questions. So he was very transparent on it. And just the last thing I was going to say is there's just a lot of things that he was talking with me about and scenarios that could happen that are just, it seems, in my opinion, and I know we're not supposed to use opinion, my opinion is that we let the sheriff do this on what he's doing. I think he's doing it for the right reasons. And I think it's the best thing for it to be. I agree with the citizen here that it's the best thing to keep it, turn it off and encrypted. That's just my opinion, just from talking with you for a few minutes. I think you feel the same way. And I have a question. In a second, I might call on Commissioner Becker if it's okay with suspend the rules, but I'm going to go ahead with Commissioner Wright first.
There is a fine line between officer safety and transparency. That fine line, if it's crossed, it could cost a life. One of those lives is the individual y'all are looking at right now. When our men and women are out here serving and protecting this county, their number one job is for them to go home safe to their family. Their number two job is to make sure everybody on their ship goes home safe to their family. If they don't meet those two requirements, they don't do those first two jobs, there's no possible way that they can do the third job, which is try to make sure every single citizen in this county goes home safe to their family. Folks, I have a family. My family loves me. The encryption is there for a reason. Don't put our men and women in jeopardy. Don't do it. Don't do it. There is not, I've been to too many funerals I don't wanna go to another one.
No, this issue, I was surprised to see it come on the agenda. It was on my radar just because I heard some people talking about it. I downloaded this app somebody told me about, Sumner Ready. It's a mixture of people, a lot of ham radio operators and people like that. A lot of concerned citizens that are like storm chasers and report things like that and get the information out to the public, that relay it out. They just love doing that kind of stuff. We're concerned about it because they've done it, hobbyists, done it for years, and they didn't like that they were being cut off. And so I'm glad you put it on here because I wanted to know why. But at the same time, I've got family members that are, first responders. I understand the need for keeping some things, quiet. Even, as a matter of fact, I think it was Ohio or state near there that some firefighters were targeted, set up for, to be shot at over a call. And so I understand the need to keep radio communications, private at times. I just want to hear, I guess, from the sheriff, why now? Was there an incident that happened? Or were they afraid of an incident that happened? Is there some kind of middle ground that could be reached for the people that are concerned with not being able to see the transparency that they once saw? Citizen here had some good ideas, suggestions about call reports after, or possibly delayed, maybe the next day they get the report that happened previously or something. I just want to hear from the sheriff, so I'll just ask that you put this on old business just to give him the opportunity to address and explain why, because I think a lot of citizens would see it through his eyes maybe and be a lot more understanding if reasons were given as to why. And I know it's probably going to be a lot different committee next month, or at least slightly different, and that'll ensure that at least it makes it to the agenda. What the new committee does with it, so be it. But at least we did our part to leave it on there to give the sheriff's a chance to address it. That's just my suggestion.
I will say one thing, and the sheriff had a really great point, and he said the reason why I want folks to, he said, I'll address it. He said the reason why I would love for folks to reach out is because he said, I just don't want to give criminals any ideas. And he said, and I mean, it was eye-opening talking with him for a second, and he didn't share a lot, but just, he really has head straight on that, so,
I had a question, but it's pretty much along the lines of what you said. A lot of people I know, or in a lot of the areas that I'm involved in, a lot of them listen to the scanners because it's dangerous. They get shot at, or people are getting shot at a lot. There's a lot of drug dealing going on, and people are scared, or people are scared out of their minds. And I think, and I know that they use the encryption to kind of keep what they're doing covert, so that no one gets, like you said, distracted. People don't get hurt. People don't need to, when you're going to a call, you don't want Joe Doe's drug dealer and his buddies coming and, I get that. I do get that, but I also get the fact that there are people that do use the scanners because they hear that and they get their kids in and they, if they don't have a lot of time, but you have to weigh the risk and the benefit, okay? And so I would like to hear more from the sheriff, but I totally understand what he's saying because dealing with, a criminal has they don't care. So, but I also know that the people that are in the middle of it a lot do have concern because a lot of them do use the scanners, what's going on.
I think some of the concerns that again, working both sides of the equation here is being in the dispatch world and then obviously being in the probation world and in the courts and then now being as a county commissioner. Trying to give a different perspective of this is if you have somebody put out a wreck, even if it's a citizen, not a sponsored link or whatever on 386 mile marker 7, the first 3 comments probably on Facebook is what kind of vehicle. I would hate to know that my son or sons were driving. And I found out they was fatally killed on a highway by a Facebook post instead of a THP officer coming with his hat in his arm, or a sheriff with his hat in his arm saying, Mr. Rogers, you got a minute. That does many facets to the first responder world. Somebody sees it on the Facebook page. Who knows if they take their own life? Who knows if it's the right vehicle? Who knows if it's the right tag? Who knows if some quack out there hasn't fabricated a vehicle to make it look like them because somebody said something about their Aunt Susie? I'll get them back by playing a crazy, cruel joke with AI, as you mentioned. It's crazy, you know. Unfortunately, again, being in the dispatch world, I could sit and listen to radio traffic and probably steal anybody's identity off the radio if I listen to it long enough. I can get your tag number if you're the vehicle that's pulled over. I can get your tag number. I'll listen real close. I can get your driver's license number. I can get your name and date of birth if your driver's license number doesn't come back on file. And if they really have to get down and verify a warrant, I can probably get your social if I listen really close, or at least the last four. Now, I'm going to go file for a credit card and make you go bankrupt while you're sitting in jail. I mean, that's just the real world of how it can all happen real quick, if you're a wanted person, obviously. But if you're not wanted, you'll get my credit card bill in the mail. But unfortunately, that's how these people work. They sit there and they listen for the dates of birth and all that stuff, and they put it all together, and then your identity's stolen. So, kudos to the sheriff and the EMS and all of them for running this way to go and encrypted. It's sad that we've got times like that. But I think we're on the right track with doing that. So, I would rather this not come back up, because the sheriff's going to probably echo the same thing. And you know, a lot of times, when we've got people like EMA and all those guys that are deployed, for lack of better words, we probably really don't need to know what EMA is talking about, especially if they're looking for a missing person, or if we see drones in the air. Obviously, we can get everybody in the house if we need to, but we've all got code red. If there's a threat going on in our city, we've got access to be notified of an alert. So I'd rather this just be heard tonight and kind of go away.
I think the same goes for E911, EMS, probably fire too. You know, I mean, it's kind of hard to justify it nowadays why that would need to be over the airways. But yes, before you go, I was going to ask, Commissioner Becker's here. 15 seconds. Again, would y'all mind if we suspend the rules?
Mine's super quick comment, not even questions.
Tim, you don't know what super quick is.
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor, Mr. Chair.
I made the motion real fast.
That's fine.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
I appreciate that. So, thanks for adding to the agenda. Just a quick, my parents' house caught on fire a couple months ago, and the way I was alerted was actually from this Sumner incident alert. So, I joined the Facebook page and just following. So, recently, they were asking whoever it is was posting about wanting to get on this agenda. They wanted to speak to it. I'm not advocating for no encryption. I commented, hey, I'll reach out to Commissioner Teacher, ask me to add it. I appreciate you adding it. I don't know if they can show it up to talk, but that's all I wanted. I appreciate all your input.
Absolutely. Appreciate you so much and sharing that. Okay, we'll bring us back into session. All in favor?
I'll defer to Commissioner Rogers if he knows more about this since he mentioned it, but one of the things I forgot to mention was there was some concern because I saw a Facebook post, and I thought it was off of an official city, I can't remember which one, that said that Code Red would be going away. And if there's something else taking its place, or if that's not true, tell me and we'll alleviate those concerns too. The people that follow that type of stuff were not going to be able to do it anymore, that the app was going to go away because the encryption wasn't going to work with the app or something. And so more information could come out about that just to alleviate is the only reason why I wanted it. But if you could just allow him to answer, that'd be great.
Well, the encryption don't trigger Code Red. That's through a totally different system. Code Red comes from within the center. That's not a delayed thing that has to go through 42 channels. Another thing I will say, When I first saw this Sumner Incident Alert, I thought, hey, this is a pretty cool thing. I reached out to him, who is it? I sent him a message on Sumner Incident Alert, who is this? Tell me more, right? Do you know what they said? Just a group of individuals who want to keep Sumner County informed. So that makes me scared. I mean, is it credible information? Are we getting credible information? I don't know. I mean, but I think the Sheriff's Department's doing good, so I think this ought to just fall off the agenda.
Just really quickly while we're on it, does anyone here, anybody can speak, does anybody know about the Code Red?
It's staying, as far as I know, because
I don't know if
the city of Portland's doing a lot of push to get people to go to it. I would be surprised if it's going away.
Yeah,
I've received no reports of it, and I use it in my office.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for this.
Motion,
No motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.